So today, while I was scrolling the internet, I came across this article by Car and Driver essentially talking about how 2024 is going to be the last production year that the Volkswagen GTI and Golf R are going to actually be offered with a manual transmission. And at first, I didn't really care too much, but then when I started really reading the article, I kind of got a little bit concerned and I decided to go ahead and make this video. Now, to some people, they may not see this as anything, and in the article, it does kind of go on to state that the last model year, which I think is kind of cool, Volkswagen, it's coming with like this 380 package where all manual GTIs will be fitted with like some paint color, black 19-inch wheels, and a couple other little add-ons. Now, further along in the article, Car and Driver actually has their own kind of reader-driven poll that basically asks whether or not people think that this, manual GTI basically not existing anymore is a good thing or a bad thing. And almost 90%, or practically 90% of the poll agreed that it was a bad thing. And that kind of got me thinking, because the Volkswagen GTI or the Golf R, yes, they're the enthusiast version of the Volkswagen Golf, but essentially a Volkswagen Golf is kind of a pretty popular quote-unquote commuter car, or something that you would just see in traffic, that someone who maybe not cares about cars, something that someone like that would buy. And it kind of got me thinking, especially here in America, the domestic market, we have practically no manual options for just commuter vehicles anymore. Now, yes, some manufacturers have been taking advantage of the manual market that's still out there, because plenty of us still want manual transmissions in our car. And manufacturers such as Toyota, Honda, Ford, and Nissan have been cashing in with that, with the new Nissan Z, the new Supra now being offered with a manual transmission, the new Type R staying with a manual transmission, as well as the new 7th generation of the Ford Mustang, the S650, practically not really changing that much from the S550s. They're still going to be offered with a manual transmission. I believe the automatics are still going to be coming with that really amazing 10-speed auto, but that manual is still going to be there. Now, it is pretty obvious why that market is still there when it comes to enthusiast cars, but honestly, the market should still be there for commuter vehicles as well. And just in this video, I'm going to run down a couple reasons why I personally think why it should still be there. But let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. Am I just a little bit delusional for thinking some of these things? Or do you guys kind of agree with me as well? While you're down there, definitely be sure to leave a like and subscribe. All that stuff really does help me out a ton. But anyways, getting back to the topic of this video, and specifically looking at the American market, or really just the North American markets with Canada as well, I'd say honestly right around the past 25 years or so, we've just seen an exponential decline in new models being offered with a manual transmission, which I just find incredibly fascinating. And it also almost goes hand in hand with a lot newer cars, newer vehicles, newer SUVs, newer trucks, whatever, just being a lot more cookie cutter, having a lot less personality. And now with the increase of hybrids as well as just plain Jane EVs, it's almost like cars have no soul anymore, and manufacturers are just worried about the bottom line, and there's not a lot of personality when it comes to choosing your vehicles. Yes, you might like the design of a vehicle, yes, you might like the color that it comes in, but essentially, if you're going to buy a family SUV, most family SUVs nowadays are either front-wheel drive or all-wheel drive, and practically all of them are powered by a turbo inline 4-cylinder engine, if they still have an internal combustion engine, and a lot of them have either a little small electric motor and are hybrids or plug-in hybrids, and that's pretty much it. There's not a lot of crazy different options when it comes to different revolutionary drivetrains or stuff. And I know you guys might go crazy in the comments and point certain different models out, but I'm just talking about the plain Jane, just affordable kind of bottom line like SUVs that people might look for when they're looking for a family vehicle. And going back to vehicles being a lot more cookie cutter with their design and just with their existence, the automatic transmission in itself kind of represents a more easy, convenient, and just like less thought behind driving a car. And honestly, in my eyes, it's a little bit lazy when it comes to manufacturers, especially when they're just not offering, manual transmissions in some of these vehicles where people might actually want them. And specifically in this video, while we're talking about North American markets, I do just want to take a quick glance at, your European, Asian, and I guess even African or Middle Eastern markets. There's just a lot more usage when it comes to manual transmissions outside of North America. Even in South America too. I guess I didn't really list that continent off as well. But just looking at other countries around the world, I mean, specifically our European counterparts, there's so many just people that know how to drive manual in other countries, whereas us Americans or Canadians, a lot of that, I guess that kind of skill, if you can call that a skill, is really being lost. And even just driver education courses that are designed towards, I don't know, like high school kids, no one is like learning manual anymore, and it's honestly kind of sad. And the reason why I think it's specifically sad is it requires more effort to learn. Yes, it's harder to learn, but you're more engaged when driving. It offers a much better driving experience, and not for nothing, but I believe one of the leading causes of deaths in teenagers in the United States of America is actual traffic accidents. And unfortunately, it's a reality that we live in. There's so many kids, especially nowadays with technology, with Bluetooth systems in cars. It's almost like cars don't want you to care about driving. And when you're behind the wheel of a vehicle, even if it's not a large SUV or a large truck, it's still a pretty dangerous, almost weapon, I guess you could call it. And you're very capable of hurting yourself as well as multiple other people that are just on the road, or your passengers or whatever. So it's almost better to be a little bit more engaged when you're driving, and to have it, I guess, be a little bit more difficult to actually drive said vehicle, so that people are paying attention and they're not even thinking about texting or changing the radio or just doing all these other things that could distract you while you're behind the wheel. Now, staying on the topic of safety, the driver does have full control of the vehicle. So just in my car alone, and my car is a manual, and it's a Mustang, and even though it's just a V6, it's my first car, and it still has, there's been a couple sketchy moments just in almost, I guess, my last 6 years of owning it now. It honestly doesn't even feel like I've owned it for 6 years. But in my last 6 years of owning it, I've definitely had a couple close calls. And I've driven that thing through blizzards. I've driven that thing through very heavy rainstorms. And there's been a couple times when I've skidded a little bit. And with an automatic vehicle, you're not necessarily in full control all the time, like you are with a manual car. And just that by myself, I know people have different personality types. There's different types of drivers out there, but that specifically for me, that increases my own confidence when I'm behind the wheel tenfold, just compared to some other cars out there. Now, probably like my final point that is just a black and white point and not really too opinionated. I know pretty much this entire video honestly is opinionated, I'll be real. But the one thing that definitely is true across the board, doesn't matter if you're looking at cars, SUVs, trucks, any vehicle, when they're in manual, they're just less expensive. They're just more affordable to the everyday average consumer out there. And not only are they more affordable when we're talking about MSRP or just like the regular price tag off the dealership lot, we're also talking about repairs. A manual transmission is cheaper to repair or just replace when compared to automatic transmissions. And there's just a lot more moving parts in automatic transmissions. And they certainly are, I think, a lot more complicated than just a manual transmission. So that is another plus, especially when we're talking about just the average kind of regular consumer out there that is just looking for a kind of commuter vehicle. And now, just to round off this video and kind of just finish it up here, Let's be real, at least to me, you guys might disagree, but I just think driving manual vehicles are just a hell of a lot more fun than driving something automatic. Now, yes, there's plenty of badass automatic vehicles out there. The fastest car that I drove on the channel was an automatic car. It was a over 1,000 horsepower R35 GTR. That was amazing. It was so much fun. I'll leave the link to that on top of the video right now. I also drove a 2018 Porsche GT2 RS, and even though that was technically an automated manual, it had the flappy paddles. It didn't have your typical, like, you know, third pedal with the stick. Also, going back to the newer Mustangs, I know I mentioned it before, but that new 10-speed automatic transmission, you can get pretty much stock Mustangs with a tune and I think like an exhaust and slicks on the back. With that automatic transmission, they're like running 10s in the quarter mile, which is just ridiculous for basically almost stock car. So I'm not going to completely hate on automatics, but it's just for all these reasons that I listed in today's video. I just think it would be so much more beneficial for manufacturers to go ahead and just offer more regular commuter cars in manual or with manual transmissions, excuse me, instead of just keeping the manual transmissions for, you know, our like enthusiast cars that us car enthusiasts might enjoy more than just the average kind of day-to-day consumer. So let me know down in the comments below, sound off, let me know if you guys think that I'm completely wrong. I could take some constructive criticism, it won't offend me, but let me know if you guys agree with me as well, because I have a sneaky suspicion that there's probably a lot more people out there that would like to have some of these newer vehicles offered in manual. But while you guys are down there, again, definitely be sure to leave a like and subscribe if you're brand new. I definitely do appreciate all the support you guys have been showing recently. It means the world to me, but like always, again, thank you guys so much, and I will see you in the next one.